Okay, very cool, and thank you so much for having me and everyone who's part of the event today. I hope it's been an awesome event, and you guys have gotten a lot of real good value out of it, and that's my hope here with this presentation. A little bit about myself, really quick, before we jump into it. I've been a self-directed investor for the last 10 years or so. Before that, I had no background in the stock market whatsoever, other than it was on when my parents were watching CNBC or reading the Wall Street Journal. And my background was such the opposite of a lot of people that are in high levels of finance. I was actually a professional baseball player, which we'll get into a second. So really excited, very, very excited to teach this to everyone who's on the training today. And I know it's going to provide some serious value to everyone. So I'm going to jump right into it. But as you guys have heard, this training today, how to make money in the stock market, investing just one day a week, and how you can profit from it too without being a pro. This is really something that anyone can do. And what I like to do before I get started, I know you guys have been listening to other people talk, and they've been some great talks, but do me a favor, please. This is a value presentation. This is not going to be kind of this high-level fluff stuff. So do me a favor, break out that paper and pen, get rid of the Facebook and Skype, try to close the door and lock in. This is not going to be a very, very long presentation, but I'm going to provide a ton of value to everyone. So please try to limit those distractions as best that we can. But here's where, ooh, this doesn't work. There we go. Here's what we're going to learn during this presentation today. We're going to learn how to profit in the stock market investing just one day a week. You guys knew that. And probably when you read some of the material from the organizers of this event today, you probably said, really? Making money in the stock market just one day a week? That can't be the case. There's no way. But it's going to feel amazing at the end of this training when you not only know that that's possible, but that you can actually go out and start doing it immediately. That should sound pretty good, doesn't it? You're going to learn how the top 1% of all investors are able to make money each and every year. And the good news for you is we can absolutely too. You're going to learn how to profit while completely bypassing having to know about charts or balance sheets or what was said on CNBC or what was in Barron's over the weekend. You're not going to need to know any of that. You don't need to know about indicators or all those squiggly lines that you can put on a chart to be able to take what I'm going to teach you during this training session and be able to profit from it. You do not need to know any of those things at all. And finally, you're going to learn how to scale up your investments and put it all on semi-autopilot. That's right, making money in the stock market in a semi-automated fashion. So my big promise to you on this training is, first of all, you're going to have a blast. Now, again, I know you've been listening to other people speak before me, and I know you'll be speaking to other people after me. I'm going to try my best to be pretty memorable. I love doing this. I love doing this. I love teaching people how to make money in the stock market. I love how people are able to take what I'm able to teach them and literally sitting in front of a computer, wherever there's Wi-Fi or anywhere where they can have access to their cell phone, be able to really utilize things. So I absolutely love this. I'm going to have a blast, and I hope you have a blast too. So if you're new to investing, okay, if you're new to investing, I promise, not only will you feel like the stock market is just way simpler than you thought, but you'll be able to start making profits directly from what I will teach you in this training. Pretty exciting, right? Now, if you're not new to investing, and I know we have a ton of people that are not new to investing at all, I promise that you'll be able to add these methods to your arsenals and be able to make money from them as well. And you're also going to hear from some of my students that have learned the exact same things and exactly how they've been able to profit from doing these as well. So you might be saying, okay, great. I've heard all these other things. I hear what you're saying, but why is this important to me right now? Well, the idea that you need to have a math or finance background to make money in the stock market, look, it's just dead wrong. As I told you, you're going to hear about this in a second. I was a professional baseball player. I was the complete opposite of having that type of a background. And as we all know, investors are failing at incredibly high rates. And they all kind of do the exact same things as one another. I read a study the other day from thestreet.com saying investors fail at a clip at 90% of the time. I kind of think it's more like 99% of the time. Whatever that number is, and unfortunately really does mean, though, that investors are failing across the board at high rates. You know, over the last few years, really, in my opinion, the game has really changed in your favor, like you and I. A lot of people come to me and they go, Steven, you know what? I kind of feel like the stock market is something that's just so rigged against me. You know, it's something that's rigged in the favor of the big guys and the top investors, the money managers. Well, with regulation coming into play and the ability for investors to have really low commissions online and a lot of great technology, I really truly feel like the game has really changed and is rigged in yours and mine's favor. And finally, guys, look, you know this. If you get one idea from this training, just one idea, it could potentially change your financial future. Because the reality is you are just one trade away from financial freedom. You're just one trade away. Now, is this training for you? Well, if you're new to the stock market and you want to jumpstart your success, you're in the right spot. Or if you're an experienced investor and want a big-time income boost, this is for you. Now, if you want to supplement or replace your income, or if you're really looking to achieve that true financial freedom, you are in the right place. And if you need a specific step-by-step plan and want to avoid learning it on your own, this is for you. This is something anyone can do, even very part-time. So my goal for this training is to make it at least worth $5,000 to you. And look, these are some of the exact same methods that I use and that I share with my clients. And look, they work. They're all backed by 20 and 30 years of data, so they really, really work. And there's no doubt in my mind that if you pay attention and you commit with me right here for the next hour or so, that you're going to get that $5,000 of value out of it. So my ask is that you treat this as if you've paid $5,000 to learn it. And what that really just means, again, is you can't be half interested, okay? I know these online trainings have every opportunity in the world to be distracted. So again, limit those distractions. If you want to get that $5,000 of value out of this training, I need you to dial in right now and treat it as if you paid that $5,000 to learn it. Now, I don't want anyone to have all this anxiety about what's going to happen at the end of this training. Okay, we do have a community, which I call Market Hero, that I will extend an exclusive invitation to you for being part of this training with me here today. But I want you to know, if you do choose to join at the end of this training, there are some added incentives, some major incentives, which I'll go over really, really quickly. All right, so part of Market Hero is the core training. So it's everything you need to make money and save time doing so in the stock market. That's a big theme, and you'll definitely pick up on that theme while we go through this training session. Making more money, spending less time doing so. And part of Market Hero, you also get lifetime access to our private Facebook mastermind group and our weekly webinar trainings. Okay, so not only do you know how to make money and save time doing so, but we will be doing it together in our in the mastermind group and our weekly webinar trainings. This currently on my website retails for $5,000. But as I told you, being part of this training today, you're going to get a lot of goodies and a heavy, heavy discount if you decide it's for you. And again, the decision is going to be completely up to you at the end, but I wanted to be 100% transparent so you could focus on the training and not worry about what comes next. All right? And I promise, if you pay attention, if you commit, you'll get that $5,000 out of this training. So does that sound fair? All right, good. So now that we got all of that out of the way, let's talk about how this bad boy is going to work. Okay, so first I'm going to tell you just a little bit about who I am. Okay, you guys don't know me. I'm just going to talk about myself for about 2 minutes because I know you want to get into the good stuff. You want to know how to make money in the stock market investing just 1 day a week. I'm going to deliver that to you, so I'm only going to spend like 60 seconds on myself. You're going to hear from some of my clients and students and what they did to crush it in the market. And the good news is everything that they have learned to be able to crush in the market, you're going to learn and be able to do it too, very much following this training. Now, one of the things that's very, very important to me is a lot of participation going on during the training. The people that have come through these trainings that have been the most successful, they're the ones that ask the most questions. So please do me a favor if you can. The more questions you have, the more we can customize this training towards you. So the way that's going to work is I will be able to follow the questions in the question box. As we go through the actual trainings themselves, I will stop maybe 2 or 3 times during the actual training to make sure that the methods and the strategies that we're talking about, that everyone here attending right here, right now, doesn't have any questions and knows exactly what needs to be done to be able to make money from those things. And then if there are other questions throughout the training, we're going to save about 10 minutes or so at the end to actually answer everything else. So I think that sounds pretty fair, right? So feel free to ask away. Again, I'll answer questions during, and then if we have any questions left over after, I will definitely get those in too. All right, great. So I told you I was going to talk just 60 seconds about myself, so here we go. Yes, that's me in the top right corner of the screen. I am a former professional baseball player in the Kansas City Royals organization. So obviously, very opposite to having a background in the stock market or finance or math or any of that stuff. I've made over $1.2 million of profits in the stock market. I'm also an investing coach with clients all over the world who currently have a combined $11 million under management. So when I say $11 million under management, they are not money managers. They're individuals like you and I, and collectively, all of our portfolios together are roughly around $11 million. I'm also a traveler, a sports fanatic, and a foodie. Now, what makes this presentation different than all the ones that you've seen earlier today and all the ones that you have seen, throughout your entire investing career? I know that one of the things about the stock market, financial markets, is you're always overwhelmed and always almost oversaturated with a ton of information that is given to you guys on a given day. You have the newspapers in the morning. You probably subscribe to newsletters, a sort of an investing service, right? But what makes this one different is we're not talking about charts. We're not talking about balance sheets. We're not talking about what was said on CNBC or talked about on Bloomberg. None of what we do is any bearing on interest rates or FX or Feds. We're not going to have all these charts with all these different lines on them because that is not important to what we're going to talk about today, right? Everything that we will teach you on this training here in just a few minutes time can be implemented by a beginner or expert. You're going to hear about one of the students that came to a very, very similar training of mine at the beginning of December and has been able to do amazing things. That young man, that individual, didn't even have an investment account beforehand. So everything we're going to talk about here can be done by a beginner or a pro. We focus on unsexy and less risky methods that have worked for years. And again, like I mentioned earlier, they're backed by 20 and 30 years of data, okay? Now, to me, it's totally cool that I teach this to you because as you know, the stock market, a multi-trillion-dollar industry, so profitability on these trades and on these methods, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to be saturated. So if you pay attention to these, if you think about the concepts and what we're really talking about, and you really go take them to heart and you really go execute on them, there's a lot of great things that can happen. I got into the stock market for financial freedom. I wanted to be able to do things like travel all over the world. I wanted to be able to do some amazing, amazing things. This is myself visiting the Dominican Republic a couple of months ago. I'm able to do stuff like this because I've been able to be successful in the stock market. I've also been able to get into a lot of hobbies of mine. This is a horse that I own. I own a bunch of different horses that I race. Really fun fact, the name of that horse is Stevie Baseball, which is really, really cool. Kind of goes back to my baseball days. True financial freedom means that I could do a lot of things in my life. This is a really, really big deal. Obviously I have a sizable account. I'm sure there are people that are listening that have larger accounts. I'm sure they have less. But again, to me, this is the financial freedom that I always, always wanted to have. And I've been able to, I could say without a shadow of a doubt that I've been able to reach that based on the exact same concepts that we're going to get into in about 2 minutes time. So real quick, obviously my results are not typical. This is not a get rich quick type of thing. And the truth is you might be saying, well, that's kind of BS, Stephen, because you just told me you did all these amazing things in the stock market. Well, it's not effortless earnings. You're going to have to pay attention here and you're going to have to actually go there and do these things. And just because these methods I say are less risky doesn't mean they're risk-free at all. Now, obviously my results again are not typical at all. However, I'm going to walk you through some of the methods that I've used to get to where I am. But again, please understand my results are not typical at all. All good? Great. So what we're going to talk about here on this training, we're going to talk about two things that I call setups. Okay? And the way to think about a setup is you're sitting in your car and you're at a red light. You're not going anywhere. But all of a sudden the light turns green. That is the setup. And what happens when you see the setup or the light turns green? Well, you put your foot on the pedal and you drive through the intersection. So when I think about the stock market, I think about the methods that I use and that my students use. It's very much about, hey, when this is happening, do this. When A, then B. When you're sitting in your car at a red light and green light happens, do this. It's kind of like the drop and drag of investing. And that's what I like to go over. So that's what setup is. And what you're going to discover here is, now I told you ahead of time, and in all the materials going out to you guys ahead of time, it was making money in the stock market, investing just 1 day a week. So actually, I've expanded on that. Not only are you going to learn how to make money in the stock market just investing 1 day a week, which is setup number 2, the best day of the week to invest, but I've also gone a little bit further, right? And I'm going to talk to you about the best months of the year to invest first. And those are going to allow you to make money in the stock market buying 1 time a month and selling 1 time a month, okay? That should be pretty exciting to you guys. You guys excited to learn these things? Now, again, what we're looking at right here is not ultra sexy. It's not the sexiest thing you ever saw, okay? It's not. But again, this presentation, as I mentioned, it's short by design because, again, it takes all the hype out. It takes the fluff out, right? This is an instructional, a value training. And again, it's kind of like proof how simple some of these systems can really be. And again, I know everyone gets inundated with all this extra information every single day. But again, this training will be simple and it will provide true value to you. You guys ready to jump into this? All right. Awesome. So setup number 1, I call the quarterly setup. Now, nobody laugh at this photo. I asked one of my students, his name is Matt, to send me a photo because I knew he did really well talking about the doing the quarterly setup. And he sent me this. Now, it was up to him to send me this. You know, I didn't tell him to send him where he wasn't smiling or he wasn't doing any of that stuff, but he sent me this. And he came to one of my last trainings at the beginning of December, and he learned the quarterly setup. He did not have an account at all. He did not have an account at all before actually jumping in here and taking action and doing these things. He didn't have an account at all. So after learning the quarterly setup, he opened up a Robinhood account, he funded it, and he actually did the quarterly setup. So when I talked to him recently, he said, now I'm more than doubling the returns of the market this year. In 2018, I bought once and I sold once. And that's it. It can't be that easy, can it? Well, for Matt, it was. It doesn't always work out that way, but it was for him. So I dug into the numbers and I said, hey, how is he doing? He showed me his account versus the overall market. And when we talk about the overall market, I'm talking about the S&P 500. So when people, if you don't know what the S&P 500 is, it's called an index. It's a basket of about 500 primarily U.S.-based stocks, and all it is just a nice summary of what the overall stock market is doing. So we're going to say stock market, S&P 500. For the rest of this training, that's going to be very much intertwined and exchangeable for one another. So I compared his returns doing the quarterly setup versus the overall market, and it turns out that Matt is beating the market by over 600% in 2018. So not only has this worked for a while, but it works very recently. Would anyone not be okay with returns like that? Exactly. So let's dive right in. So the quarterly setup. So when breaking down stock market returns, it turns out that there are months in every quarter that are more profitable than others. Now, in order to locate these profitable setups, we must figure out what months they are. And the good news for everyone who's on this training right now is we have. So when breaking down the profit and loss by months in every quarter in the overall stock market, we have found a winner. How cool is this? We have found a true winner. Ready? All right. So on the left side of my screen, you'll see S&P 500 returns from 1990 to present. So this is not something that is very curve fitted, say, over the first quarter of this year. This is not something that's curve fitted over the last, let's say, 10 years. This is a 30-year study. And within that study, we had bull markets and we had bear markets. We had a little bit of everything. So what we're looking at right here, again, is S&P 500 returns from 1990 to right around the beginning of 2018. The gray line, which is a little bit lower on this graph that we're looking at right here, is represented by the second and third month of every single quarter. So obviously you have 4 quarters of a year. The first quarter, the second and third month would be February and March. So every February and March is added to that gray line. However, the orange line, which clearly is doing substantially better than the gray line, is just the first month of every single quarter. So again, if we look at the first quarter, the first month of the first quarter being January, okay? So the first month of every single quarter, January, April, July, and October. That is represented by the orange line. All the other 8 months are represented by the orange line. So looking at this right here, it's clear to me, and I know it's clear to you, that since 1990, okay, almost 30 years of data, the first month of every single quarter, January, April, July, October, are far more profitable than the other 8. That's pretty cool, right? Okay, so now that we know that, the first month of every single quarter, being again January, April, July, and October, is far more profitable than the other 8, let's go do something about it. Let's go try to make some profits from it. So how do we do that? Well, pretty simple. Here's a basic way to do it. At 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, every first trading day of January, April, July, and October, and the reason we say 9:30, for those that don't know, is the stock market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. But when the market opens, the first trading day of January, April, July, and October, go over to your online brokerage account, type in those letters SPY, click the big green button. That will allow you to get into the actual setup, again, that quarterly setup. That's how you get in. Well, how do you get out? Well, what we're going to do is, before 4 o'clock, because the market closes at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, on the last trading day of January, April, July, and October, we're going to log into our account. We're going to type in those 3 letters, and we're going to go ahead and click those big red buttons to sell all the stock that we bought earlier on in the month. Now, let me ask you a question, right? All you got to do, buy at the beginning of the first trading day of those months. So again, buy at the beginning of January, April, July, and October. Sell at the end. That's it. That's how you take advantage of knowing that information. And of course, we repeat the hell out of that. We set up quarterly reminders on our phone, on our calendar. We add sticky notes to our computer. But if you are a beginner or a pro, can you do the quarterly setup, right? Can you log in the first trading day of those months? Can you type in those letters? Can you buy and can you sell? Because if you had done that, just that, since 1990, you would have gotten 3 times the results in just a third of the time. All right, so when I told you this is all about simple methods, simple strategies, okay, that with the purpose of making you money and saving you time doing so, do you agree with me that utilizing the quarterly setup that I just shared with you right here, right now, can do that? Do you agree with me? Type something and press enter in the chat box right now if you agree that this is absolutely something that will allow you to make money and save time doing so. Yes. Yes. Perfect. 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 Okay. Now, like a little bit of an infomercial, that's not all, because again, we know the information, okay? The information very, very clearly is the first month of every single quarter is far more profitable than the second and third. So those 4 months themselves, January, April, July, and October, are far more profitable than the other 8. That's the setup. That's what we know. Now, how do we go ahead and execute it? Well, first we said what you can do is you can buy SPY. And for those of you that don't know, SPY is the S&P 500 Index ETF. It gets you exposure to what you're looking at here in this study, just as the 10th of a price in a tradable form. So yes, you can go ahead and buy SPY, and that will get you the right type of exposure for this. But that's not the only thing you can do. Obviously, if you're into a little bit of a leverage situation, and maybe you trade futures, do you think you could make money utilizing the quarterly setup with futures? Yeah, absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. Well, what about options? Do you think that you can make money using options? You know, can you maybe buy calls? Can you sell puts? Can you sell a put spread? Could you sell a call spread? Could you do something like that? Yeah, absolutely you can do that. But what if you're someone who maybe is more of a longer-term investor that likes to buy something and maybe hold it for a longer period of time, but you really want to take advantage of something like this? You know, can you do something like cover your stock with options? Can you maybe sell a call against your position on those second and third months of every single quarter, so that you're benefited from uncovered stock in that first month of every single quarter, and then you're actually collecting a little bit of money against your position that second and third month, knowing that maybe those aren't as profitable as that first month. Could you do something like that? So again, knowing the setup is really awesome. But here you see there's a lot of ways. There's a ton of different ways we could take advantage of knowing that information. Again, very, very simple. Yes, it makes you money. Yes, it saves you time, but you can expand on that in many, many ways. So again, if you like futures, you can do this with futures. You like options, you can go ahead and do it with options. You don't just have to buy that stock. You guys can totally, totally do this. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've arrived to our Q&A part 1. If you guys have any questions right now, talking about specifically the quarterly setup that we talked about, do me a favor, pop them into the chat box right now, and I would be happy to answer those questions here with you guys right now. And then we'll move on to the next one. So pop them in there, and I'll take a look. Cool. So I see a question about, well, how did this work so far in Q1? Well, obviously January for the overall market was quite profitable. January, I think in the S&P 500 was up over 5%. I think it was a little bit closer to like 6%, for example. So yeah, that clearly just having long exposure, again, via stock, via options, via futures in January would have been an exceptional type of return. And as we all know, February was not the best of months for sure, which again, if you did the quarterly setup, just like my friend Matt, he didn't have any long exposure in February, and obviously March kind of like in the middle here. So yeah, this was something that was very, very profitable. Again, since 1990 to the beginning of 2018, that's what that study looks like. And again, in Q1 of 2018, that's something that's working. I see a comment, yes, but we've had a long upward market. Totally, we've had a long upward market. Since the beginning of the stock market, we've had an upward market for sure. Again, this study went back from 1990 to present. If you guys remember, the beginning of the 2000s, we saw a pretty sizable correction. Obviously, 2008, 2009, we saw a sizable correction. But again, in a bull market, this was something that still outperformed. So that's a nice thing to point out. All right, cool. So if there aren't any other questions, we will move on to the next setup. Sound good? All right, cool. So this is the one why you guys are all here. This is the big one. So this is making money in the stock market, investing just 1 day a week. And we're going to get really, really, really into these right now. So this is what I call the weekly setup. And when I finished my baseball playing career and I got into investing, I did well for a couple of years, and I really wanted to start to teach people to how to make money in the stock market. I really wanted to start to teach people and kind of tell them exactly some of the things that I knew, because I, as an investor, had no background whatsoever. And if I could have been successful, well, I'm sure that other people would have been able to. So I met this gentleman. His name was Bob, and I met him actually through a baseball alumni network. That's how we met. And we met, and he said, "Hey, Steven, I know you're doing well in the market, and I really am looking for a way to supplement my income. That's what I'm really looking to do here. And do you have any ways that I could do that? How hard is it? How easy is it? But again, I really want to supplement my income because I feel like my 9 to 5 is very, very limiting with what I could do." So what happened was I said, "Hey, let's meet once and let's kind of figure out what we want to end up doing here." And we talked about it, and he kept on saying, "I want to invest, but I don't know if I have time to do it." So we met that first time, and he didn't even have an account, which is kind of interesting. He didn't even have an account. So the first time we met in a one-on-one setting, we spent like a half an hour actually getting his account set up, funding it, and then I showed him this weekly setup, which again is making money in the stock market, investing just 1 day a week, which is why a lot of you are here right now. And what I showed him was pretty simple. And he's like, "This is great. I can go ahead and do it. Let's set up a couple more times to meet." And we're going to meet like once a month for the next 6 months. And then after that, he never showed up at all. In baseball, we call that big leaguing someone, when they kind of blow you off. So he big leagued me. He blew me off. And I was really down on myself because I said, hey, you know, this method worked for me. This definitely could have worked for him too if he's following it exactly like I told him. And I have like plenty more where that came from. I have plenty more where that came from. So I didn't understand why he kind of blew me off. And all of a sudden I got an email about a year later, and it happened to be from Bob. And he said, hey, I'm very sorry. I should never have blown you off like that. That's not like me, you know, but I didn't really need anything else from you, you know, because I made 41% investing in the last year just using the weekly setup. I mean, how many people would love a 41% return on investment over a year? Absolutely. Let alone it being your first time ever. I mean, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So what's really, really cool is, again, he was able to get that, he was able to supplement his income just by doing this just once a week. And remember, just like that quarterly setup, stuff's no fluff. This is some real stuff. So let's dive in and figure out exactly how we could benefit from it. Well, the weekly setup. So when breaking down stock market returns, it turns out that there are days of the week that are consistently profitable. And just let me pause right here. I see there's a couple other questions that having to do with the quarterly setup. There's going to be like a 10-minute Q&A at the end of this entire presentation. So we will answer all of them there. But I'm writing all of them down. I see there's a couple people there, Ron, Earl, Deanna. So there's a couple of people who are asking questions. I promise we will be answering those at the end. But again, in order to locate this profitable setup, days of the week, we must figure out what days they are. And the good news for everyone here is we have. So when breaking down the profit and loss by day in the overall stock market, we have found a winner. Do you guys want to know what the winner is? So what we're looking at right here on the left is S&P 500 returns versus S&P 500 returns broken down by day of the week. So what you see on the left side of the screen is from 2000 to present. So almost 20 years of actual data, okay? Now, the red line at the top is Tuesday. And the way Tuesday is represented here is by the close on Monday to the close on Tuesday. Then we have the black line, which is the overall stock market. We have the blue line, which is Thursday. So Thursday is represented by the close on Wednesday to the close on Thursday. Then we have Wednesday, Monday, and Friday. Again, all of this again from 2000 to present. So just looking at these numbers, since 2000, investing on Tuesday only would have resulted in an investor beating the overall market. Pretty exciting, right? Okay, so now that we know that, how do we go in there and benefit from it? So again, very, very simply, how do we go do that? Well, before the market closes at the end of the day on Monday, so I call it 3:59 p.m. Eastern time, we want to go into our account and we want to click on those. We want to click and push those three letters, SPY. We want to go ahead and click the green button, excuse me, I'm doing a little tongue twister to myself, and buy as many shares of SPY as we want. That's how we get in there to take advantage of the chart that you just saw before. Okay, and then how do we get out? Well, before the market closes on Tuesday, we want to press these big red buttons to sell all that stock that we bought the day before. That's how we get out. So again, we want to buy before the market closes on Monday. We want to sell before the market closes on Tuesday. And we want to rinse and repeat that. Okay, and how do we do that? Well, we'll set up a weekly reminder on our phone, on our calendar. We want to add a sticky note to our computer. But look, beginner or pro, can you do the weekly setup, right? Monday at the end of the day, can you log on to your account? Can you type in those three letters? Can you buy? And then at the end of the day on Tuesday, can you sell? Because if you had done that, just that, since 2000, you would have beaten the overall stock market. And what I find really interesting about something like this is, I see there are a lot of comments in the chat box about the quarterly setup and how it did specifically in 2008, 2009. When you look at this one specifically, obviously a big stock market correction in 2008, 2009 represented by that black line there. I'll just kind of get my mouse, represented by this black line right here in 2008, 2009. But looking at Tuesday specifically, we see a little bit of an opposite effect. So this is something that did very, very well in that 2008 and 2009 period. And it's really interesting because recently this was something that was much different. You know, we remember a couple of weeks ago, I think it was that first week in February, we had a kind of a major market correction. We saw what was pretty much a 10% drawdown in just a handful of days, okay? Just a handful of days. And some of the headlines are pretty ugly. Stock market plunges as market enters correction territory. Dow plunges 1,175 points. Worst point decline ever. I'm sure there were trillions of dollars of value lost during that entire week. That week, this weekly setup was very, very effective for something like that. This entire week lost over 5%. But as you guys can see, Tuesday alone was up well over 1%. So this is something, again, working in that kind of nasty week in 2018. But just like that quarterly setup, this is not really it, because we know the data. We know the data since 2000. And again, future returns are not going to be the same as previous returns, but we know the data. The data doesn't lie here. So look, Tuesday, check. Clearly, based off the data since 2000, more advantageous than owning it for all 5 days of the week. Okay, we know that. But Thursday, represented by that blue line right here, that looks pretty good, right? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Wednesday, that green line, it's pretty much a break even, doesn't really break the bank. Friday, it stinks in that goal line. It is not profitable. So we know the fact that Tuesday is good. And we know that, again, the way to execute this is buying or getting long exposure to the S&P 500 at the end of the day on Monday, okay? And getting out of it at the end of the day on Tuesday. We know that alone, by itself, based on the numbers since 2000, has beaten the overall market since the year, again, since 2000. So 18, 20 years of data. But again, Thursday looks pretty good. Wednesday doesn't really do much, and all those days are kind of next to each other. So is there a way that just looking at these numbers we could maybe capitalize and do a little bit better than what was on Tuesday? Well, let's kind of see. Look, breaking it down by pure numbers, Tuesday beat the overall market since 2000 to the beginning of 2018 by 18%. All the other days, Thursday, Wednesday, Monday, and Friday, underperformed the overall market. Kind of makes sense, right? But again, Thursday did really well, and Wednesday itself was kind of a break even. So if we combine Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so buying at the end of the day on Monday and holding all the way to the end of the day on Thursday, since 2000, this is something that would have beat the overall returns in the market by 89%. So rather than just buying stocks at the end of the day on Monday and selling them on Tuesday, since 2000, if you had bought at the end of the day on Monday and held until the end of the day on Thursday, you would have a much, much, much different result. Obviously, this is not making money in the stock market and investing 1 day a week. This is a little bit more, but again, we're expanding basing off the numbers right here. Now, if you want to get really saucy, if you're someone that's a little bit more advanced, if we combine those gains from Tuesday to Thursday, which again is owning at the end of the day on Monday, waiting till the end of the day on Thursday to sell, that would have been great. But what if you bought at the end of the day on Monday, and rather than selling at the end of the day on Thursday, you not only sold your longs, but you sold short, and you would have got the benefit from the fact that Friday since 2000 has underperformed? Well, this would be a little bit of a different story now, wouldn't it? And it's all based on those numbers. So yes, you can do the Tuesday, the weekly setup, which is what my client Bob did. You can do that and you can be profitable for sure. Clearly that worked for him. 2008, 2009, it was also very, very profitable for him as well. But if you combined some of those, which he did not, if you'd had combined some of those, you would have did pretty good as well. So that is the weekly setup. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to look through if you guys have any questions right now, pop them into the chat, specifically as it pertains to that weekly setup, and I'll be happy to answer as many questions as you guys have about that weekly setup right here and right now, which again, I'll just go over right here while you guys are popping those questions into the chat. Tuesday alone, since 2000 to the beginning of 2018, has beaten the overall returns of the stock market. And the way to take advantage of that is getting long exposure to the S&P 500 at the end of the day on Monday and all the way to the end of the day on Tuesday. That's how you take advantage of it. We expanded on it a little bit more, knowing that Wednesday was pretty much a break even since 2000. And Thursday, while it was profitable, underperformed the overall market since 2000. But if you combine all those 3 days since 2000, it would have been a much, much, much different story. All right, so questions. Do you only use S&P? So the data that I get from the exchange is only for the S&P. So being able to provide a study like this, the only data points I was able to get from the exchange were for the S&P. So that's a great question. I can't recommend that you're going to get that the results since 2000 to the beginning of 2018 would have been the same for like the NASDAQ or the Russell or the Dow. I can't guarantee that. What I can say is, though, as I'm sure a lot of people who are on this training right here, right now know, they are very, very correlated. The returns of the S&P to like the Dow are highly, highly correlated. So, but I do not have numbers on those specifically. What would a strategy of buying S&P on Monday before close and selling on Thursday close? So one of the things you can do, the person that asked this question, I think the question is, how do you take advantage of this? Again, what we showed here is buying SPY. And SPY is the S&P 500 index ETF. So the returns that you saw on that chart before, broken down by a day, would be the exact same for SPY, which again is the S&P 500 ETF. It's just a really easy way to get the exact same exposure to the S&P 500 for a smaller price. So you can do that. You can go ahead and buy that. Again, I know we have people here who are interested in futures. You can go ahead and do this with S&P futures specifically. I don't love options trades that are this short dated. I definitely have never done any binary options in my life, and I don't know any option strategies that I've ever done that are 1 or 2 or 3 days. So I would stick to pure stock or pure futures contracts, but that's a good question. Do you only use, what about other markets? Again, we kind of already answered that, but the data that I have since 2000 is only from the S&P 500. Again, for the NASDAQ or for the Dow, it could be quite similar, I imagine. Again, they're very correlated to one another. So I imagine since 2000, they would have similar results, but I can't guarantee exactly what they are, and because of that, I don't want to show any of that. All right. Can you use leverage 2x ETFs on the S&P? So again, let me go back. Can I go back here? Let me see. Let me go back. Okay. Let me go back while I'm answering these questions. So the question is, can you use any 2x leveraged ETFs on the S&P? Well, here is the information that you need for that. And that's a great question. So thank you so much for that question. Here's the information you need. Since 2018, Tuesday alone beat the overall returns of the market, which means, and the way to take advantage of that is getting long the S&P 500 at the end of the day on Monday to the end of the day on Tuesday. That red line is represented by doing that every week since 2000. Okay? So again, you can benefit from this by buying SPY. You could benefit from this by buying futures. 2x leveraged ETFs on SPY on the S&P 500 is not what this study is about. However, getting long exposure during that time frame, during that day, or either those 3 days, I don't see how it could hurt you. So that's a good question. So another question, what do you do in falling markets? So again, this is something that's from 2000 to the beginning of 2018. And one of the things that I pointed out was, if you guys look at this chart, let me bring my mouse down there. The black line right here is represented by the S&P 500, that return. And then all these other lines are broken down by the day. So we see right here for where my mouse is, if you guys can see, 2008, 2009, that's when we had our huge Lehman Brothers financial crisis, all that job. What you see here is obviously a big sell-off. But if we look at that red line, which is Tuesday, that actually pretty much did the opposite of what the S&P 500 did. So again, we have studies that I've shared with people, that I share with my students, that break this down into a lot more detail. I didn't want to get into too much detail with everyone today because I know it's kind of been an information overload day, but this clearly was effective in that 2008, 2009. And as we saw during that mini crash that we had a couple weeks ago, Monday was down 100 S&P points. Thursday was down 100 S&P points, but that Tuesday day was a profitable day. So these are great questions. I appreciate these. So is it Tuesday, Thursday better, and by how much? So let me see. Do I have those numbers right here? Yeah, I do. Let me go through those slides again. So again, Tuesday alone, since the year 2000, beat the overall market by 2018. But obviously, as we can see by looking at this, the blue line, Thursday and Wednesday, were all on the positive side. So if we combine all of those, let me see. If we combine all of those, obviously you had, since 2000 to present, you had a much more substantial return. So yeah, I take advantage of this from Tuesday to Thursday. People can definitely do the once a week on Tuesday for sure, rinse and repeat it. I work with people that also have day jobs and they just like to do the 1 day a week to Tuesday thing, so that absolutely can be done. So that's a great question. Proven since 2000 to the beginning of 2018 to be a profitable setup here. How profitable is the strategy on selling SPY on Thursday before the close and covering it on Monday before the close? Well, Thursday is a profitable day, so I don't have those numbers for you on the top of my head. If you want to email me or email the moderators after this, and they can go ahead and email me, and I'll get the information for you, I can. But obviously here we're seeing Friday being the day. So if you want to sell short something since 2000, it would have been Friday. So I don't want to stay with these questions. We'll have a little bit of time at the end. I know there's a couple other people, Lewis, Mary, Mike, that have some questions. I'll answer those at the end, but I want to get kind of to some other stuff. If that's cool with everyone. Sound good? All right, great. And I appreciate it. It seems like everyone really, really loved that weekly setup. So I know everyone's going to be able to go out there and do really, really well with them too. So I'm also happy that I was able to answer some of your questions. I'm just going to take a little bit of a chug of water here. We have about 30 minutes left. We'll get through everything. But these are fantastic, fantastic, fantastic questions. And again, I see there are other questions in the chat box that we'll get to here in about 10 minutes time. So let's recap where we are at this point. Obviously, we talked about the quarterly setup. And again, since 1990 to present, so 30 years of data, owning and getting long exposure, like we talked about, to the S&P 500 in January, April, July, and October, the first month of every single quarter. It far exceeded the returns of the second and third months of every single quarter being involved. So you get a lot more bang for your buck in less time. So we talked about that quarterly setup. And then we also talked about that weekly setup. We also talked about that weekly setup, which again, Tuesday, if you want to invest just 1 day a week, buying the S&P 500 at the end of the day on Monday and holding until the end of the day on Tuesday, that since 2000 to the beginning of 2018 exceeded the returns of just a buy and hold S&P 500 strategy. And obviously those are things. And we expanded on that quite a bit. We expanded on that by saying, okay, owning from the end of the day on Monday to the end of the day on Thursday is one thing you could do. You could also do that and get short on Friday. So we expanded on it. And within this weekly setup, within this data, there's way, way, way more things that we could do too. But at the beginning of this training, I promised you that you would learn new ideas and would start making money immediately, whether you are a beginner or a pro. So I have to ask you, was our time together valuable? Did you enjoy the training? Okay. Do you understand how I'm able to do what I'm able to do in the stock market? And some of my students are able to get big time results, right? Can you see how these setups will allow you to profit immediately, whether you are a beginner or a pro? And do you see how little time and knowledge is really needed to invest? That's right. Making money in the stock market, guys. How awesome is that? Just 1 day a week. Now, I have complete confidence in you. And of course, the quarterly setup, the weekly setup, we can all go out there and we can all make money from it. And I saw what was really cool to see was all the expansions on these concepts. People talking about, can we use options? People talking about futures, people talking about monthly options, people talking about weekly options. It's very, very exciting for me to see this because I understand the people that are on this training right now are real action takers, okay? And again, these methods work. They're backed by a ton of data. But of course, we only spent, 45 minutes together right here, right now. And we did learn these two profitable setups. But again, there's only so much we can do in this time. But imagine spending more time together, how much more valuable that would be. So in the beginning, I also promised you an opportunity to join me taking your next steps together by joining Market Hero, which again is designed to give you the exact step-by-step formula for crushing it in the market and achieving mountains and mountains of success. Because the reality is, look, there is great feedback in that chat box. The quarterly setup, awesome, something anyone can go out there and do. The weekly setup, there was a ton of positive feedback on that in the actual chat box, right? Those are only the tip of the iceberg. They really, really are. Okay, Market Hero, guys, that stuff's nice. That stuff works. But everything in Market Hero, guys, what you learned today is only the tip of the iceberg. It's amazing, okay? In Market Hero, it's designed to get you results big and fast. So why wouldn't you consider something that would practically guarantee your success, right? Which is why it's my pleasure to extend an exclusive invitation to stock market dominance by becoming a Market Hero. So I want to take just 5 minutes here to go over in depth what Market Hero is. And look, if you think it's right for you, I want you to get it. And if you don't think it's right for you, I don't want you to get it. Plain and simple. Does that sound fair? All right, great. So look, if you want to achieve true financial freedom, or if you want to supplement your income and follow a proven, modular, step-by-step formula that will leave no guesswork, then Market Hero is specifically for you. Now, here's what's finally going to work for you, okay? So Market Hero comes with profit-crushing setups, okay? That's the first thing you're going to get. And profit-crushing setups are just like as simple as the ones that I mentioned before, but are actually a lot more profitable. So the third setup, and again, setup, a very simple concept. When A, then B. You see something, do something, right? So the setup number 3 in Market Hero, and we have about 3 dozen of them, is profitable 90% of the time for an average of 10.75% return on investment. And this is something that requires you to show up just once a month. Would anyone not be okay showing up once a month and putting on a position that on average returns 10.75% for that month? Would anyone not be okay with that? Right? Setup number 7, profitable 51% of the time. On average, it returns 14.8% return your money. And for the people that maybe have smaller accounts, it only requires $250 of margin buying power to be able to execute it. Man, how awesome is that? Setup number 14 is the 8 days of the year that are responsible for 36% of all market gains. And you profit in less than 24 hours. And you get lifetime membership and access to this. So I add new setups all the time. As I'm getting data, I tinker with old ones, and you'll get all those for life. And one of the cool things about Market Hero is when you get these profit-crushing setups, you get to save a ton of time and money by getting rid of all these things that actually have never really done you any good. So the newsletters, the books, the financial advisors, the newspapers, on average, our Market Heroes save $213 a month when they joined by getting rid of all this stuff that really didn't really help them much in the past. That sounds pretty good, right? And what's a really cool thing about Market Heroes, all of these setups work in every single type of account. They work in cash accounts, retirement accounts, margin accounts, big accounts, small accounts. There's a version of every single setup for every single one of these accounts, okay? So again, you're going to get those profit-crushing setups. On top of that, remember, one of the big things with what we talked about here today in Market Hero, like I mentioned, making you money and saving you time doing so. So to save you time, we're going to give you my automation tools. Okay, that's a $2,997 value. The goal to save you time with emails, alerts, text messages, automated actual trades to save you a lot of time. Okay. After we save you time, we're going to give you all my done-for-you tools and cheat sheets and my morning game plan. And this way, you could be looking and going through the exact same checklist, the exact same cheat sheet that I'm going through every single day when I'm looking at something. So here's an example of one of my cheat sheets. And what it is if you look at a stock, all you have to do is answer just 3 questions about that stock. And after you answer those 3 questions, it will reveal to you the absolute best setup to actually go ahead and execute. So when you think about it, like imagine you're sitting at home and you have all these monitors going on and you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do in the stock market, right? But with these cheat sheets, it's really like I'm standing over you. A photoshopped version of myself is standing over your shoulder telling you exactly what to do, right? So these cheat sheets, and they really take the guesswork out of everything because it's very step-by-step handheld. It's a blueprint for what I do every single day. And I also mentioned my morning game plan. So if you're like me, you wake up in the morning, your hair's all over the place, you don't know what's going on, but you turn over and you look at your phone, okay? And what you'll see is you'll see a morning game plan from me every single morning, where every single night we go through our watch list and we run a big giant algorithm on all of the stocks that we follow every single day, and we give you the number one setup based off of all of our data for all of those. Interested in doing something in Netflix? Do setup 19. Interested in do something in GLD? Setup 9. Again, guys, very, very, very done for you. So we've given you the profit crushing setups to make you money, the automation tools to save you time, the tools and cheat sheets to really give you a lot of confidence that you're looking at the same things I am. Okay? Again, that's what you get. But on top of that, I want to do this together with you. Okay? I want to do this together. I said I want to invite you to be part of my team so we go through this journey together. And for that, you're going to be part of my live weekly webinars. That's a $2,997 value. So every single week, you, myself, my team, and all of our fellow market heroes, we get on a webinar and we just talk markets. Any question you have, I'm happy to answer. Any other setup you guys are thinking about doing, I'm happy to answer. And these are different than maybe anything else you experienced in the past. It's not like 7 to 8 p.m. where we have a hard stop. It's like 7 p.m. until we're done, until everyone's questions are answered. Now, that's nice. One day a week is great, but how about every single day? So obviously, you're going to be part of the community. You're going to be part of this lifestyle in my private Facebook mastermind group. You have a question about what setup to do? Hit me up in the Facebook group, and myself or one of my traders will give you an answer. Don't know what your account is looking like? Hit me up in the Facebook group. I will literally get in your account with you, and we'll go ahead and do this. So the total value of Market Hero, $15,583. And look, I told you at the beginning of this training would be worth $5,000 to you, and I proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I also told you that I'm not going to charge you $15,583 to get access to the training, the softwares, the tools, the cheat sheets, okay, the Facebook group, none of that stuff. But I have a question for you, and I want you guys to really think about this. If I did charge you $15,583, would it be worth it? Well, if all it did was make you very profitable by just doing trades 8 days out of the year, would it be worth it? Yeah, of course. The other 348 days, you don't need to do anything. Of course it would be worth it, right? If all it did was supplement your income by making a few extra $1,000 every month for the rest of your life in a semi-automated fashion, would it be worth it? Yeah, remember, you get my automation tools, making you more money in less time. So would it be worth it? Totally, right? And if all it did was by utilizing my daily reminders, allow you to never worry about your finances ever again and allow you to spend more time with your family and travel, would it be worth it? Yeah, totally. Guys, look, Market Hero, the total value of Market Hero, $15,583. But everything in Market Hero, including myself, right? Because you get a lot of me at the webinars and the Facebook group. Everything in there is a blueprint, is a step-by-step handheld blueprint, a game plan for how I was able to come up with an account of this size. So let me ask you a question. It kind of puts it into a little bit of a perspective now, doesn't it? Because Market Hero is not a cost. It's an investment. Okay? How many of you would invest today, would write me a check for $15,583 to learn the exact step-by-step blueprint for how I was able to do this? Absolutely, that's right, because it's an investment, not a cost. So you can see why it's a steal at $15,583. And as I mentioned before, Market Hero on my website right now is $5,000. And again, it's an investment and it's worth it. I also mentioned that because you're on this training here, you're going to get a ton of goodies and a heavy discount. So you can get started today at a ridiculous discounted price of just $997. And if you want to go ahead and get started, the price is today and today only. Go to stephenbrooks.co/trade. This is a special URL just for the people who are on this training right here and right now. Again, on my website, normally this is a $5,000 offer. Now, for you guys, for being here, for having as much participation as you did during this actual training, for just $997. So you have two choices right now. You can do nothing and be okay with the next 3 months looking like the last 3 months for you, or you can pony up a small investment today compared to all that value you're going to get in return and just give it a shot. And look, I have this saying with my company, if I can't make you money, then I don't deserve yours. So obviously there is a 30-day money back guarantee for this. And it's kind of a little bit different. It's a two-part. Okay. So again, you guys should be going to that website right now and getting started. But the 30-day money back guarantee works like this. Part one, go ahead, learn and try 5 of these setups, okay? Go ahead and learn and try 5 of those. If you execute those properly and they do not work out for you, go ahead, send me an email, say, hey, it didn't work out. This is why it didn't work out. This is how it didn't work out. And I will go ahead and give you a refund in the first 30 days, no questions asked. So really, I'm just saying, hey, give it all a shot. If you do give it a legitimate shot in the first 30 days, I'll give you your money back. And I'm so confident that everything in Market Hero, the training, the tools, the Facebook group, the webinars, the automation tools, all that will work for you so much that if you do qualify for that refund, I will give you your money back plus $100 cash on top of it. That's how confident I am, guys. That is how confident I am. So again, really quick, what you're going to get, my profit-crushing setups make you money. My automation tools save you time. My done-for-you tools and cheat sheets, my morning game plan, so you are looking at the exact same things I'm looking at on a given day. Also, we're going to do this together. So you're going to be part of my live weekly webinars and my private Facebook mastermind group. Total value, $15,583. But let's get into the goodies right now because there are a ton of goodies here, okay? When you invest today and today only, and because you're on this training with me, you're going to get 2 amazing goodies. The first one is my profit screaming notifications, which is a $10,000 value. So what it is imagine you're taking your children to school in the morning and you hadn't had the opportunity to actually look at what's going on in the market. But then all of a sudden you get a notification from me and it says, hey, Hero, looks like there's going to be an excellent opportunity to put on a heavy iron condor this morning in Facebook. Remember to stay small. Again, guys, it's handheld for you. When I'm thinking about doing something, you will know. This bonus alone is well worth your tiny investment in Market Hero today. It really doesn't get more done for you. So this is the first part of one of your goodies for being on this training with me today. The second one is for everyone who joins from this training, you will get an hour-long power session with me within your first week of joining. That's currently a $997 value. So this alone, when you join today, is worth the price of admission. So again, guys, get started today for just $997. To get started, go ahead, go to stephenbrooks.co/trade, jump in there. Again, it comes with our full 30-day money-back guarantee, plus the $100 bonus if you actually do qualify. And if you live in the United States, there's something extra special for you guys. You can go ahead and become a Market Hero today with PayPal credit. So what happens is there's a link on our actual checkout page at stephenbrooks.co/trade. There's a link there that says, check out with PayPal. You can go there, and if you want to buy via PayPal and PayPal credit, if you live in the United States, PayPal will pay me the $997, and you will not have to pay PayPal back for 6 months. So really, if you live in the United States, and I'm sorry for people outside, this is kind of like a PayPal rule, but if you live in the United States, you can get started for Market Hero free for 6 months today. Absolutely free. So again, guys, this is being gifted on a silver platter for you guys. So again, we're at the final Q&A time here. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys all have. Right now, if you have any questions, go ahead, pop them into the chat right now. And I'm happy to stay on for the next 12 minutes. Good. I'm pretty happy with myself. I timed this well. So we would have some time for some Q&A at the end. But again, guys, this is an offer for the people who are here on this training right here and right now. Some of those bonuses, those profit screaming notifications and the one-on-one consultations will never be available outside of this training. So if you guys are interested and you do think it's right for you, then I'm happy and excited to work with everyone. So let's see here. Let's just start rifling off some questions. That's very impressive for a crash on the weekly setup. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know why that happens. I don't know why Tuesday's been the most profitable, but it has. And yeah, very, very interesting. Again, if we go back, because I don't want to go back in the slides, but if you think about that setup, that weekly setup, Tuesday pretty much did the opposite of what the market did in 2008, 2009, which is really, really cool. So the combined version for the weekly setup is buy at the end of the day on Monday, keep it for 3 days, and close it at the end of the day on Thursday. So Tuesday alone, which is buy at the end of the day on Monday, sell at the end of the day on Tuesday, that alone from 2018 outperformed the market. That alone did it, okay? Now, on the other hand, Wednesday was a break-even day, but Thursday was a profitable day. It did not outperform the overall market. However, it was profitable. So if you want to take advantage of those 3 days not being down days, Again, that's the way it was from 2000 to 2018. Yes, that would be the combined version for sure. For the quarterly strategy, is there a best week to start? So the way the quarterly strategy works is getting long exposure to the S&P 500 the first trading day of the first quarter of every single, of the first month of every single quarter. So if you look at, let's say, Q1 2018, the first trading day of January, whatever that was, let's say we were able to go back in time, we had a DeLorean and we were able to go back in time, what you would want to do is you want to go ahead and get long exposure that first trading day of January. And you can do whatever you want for the rest of the month. You could do other trades. You can take a nap. You can go on vacation. But by the end of that month, you want to get out of those positions. And obviously, January was a very strong month for the S&P 500. So that's the exposure you would have got for Q1. February, not too good. March, I think it's break even, maybe a little bit down. So there's no specific week. It's that day. Okay. In the quarterly setup, if you buy first day of the quarter, when do you sell? You want to sell the last trading day of the first month of that quarter. Okay. What's the minimum account balance needed? So that is a very good question. Again, we have all of our 36 plus profit crushing setups. It's kind of like a tongue twister for me. I'm sorry. In Market Hero, there is a version of them for every single type of account. So if you have a small account, and a small account is just a few $100s to a few $1,000, there are many things that you can do within Market Hero that will work for smaller accounts. So we have strategies. In fact, last week on my weekly coaching call with my Market Heroes, we put on a strategy in QQQ, which is the NASDAQ ETF, where we were risking $23 to make about $223. So that's a risk 1 to make 10. That's great and all, risk 1 to make 10, but the matter of the fact is you only needed $23 to be able to execute something like that. So on that type of a trade, the margin requirements were specifically for that $23. So smaller accounts, absolutely this works for them as well. Is there automated trading? So the way the automation works is, yes, there is some level of automation to the actual trading. You will need some programming knowledge to be able to do these things. But more importantly, there are notifications for all of those as well that help semi-automate it. So for example, those 8 trading days of the year that are responsible for 36% of all market returns, okay, those in itself, you get an email notification on every single one of those days with a video reminder of exactly what to do. So again, we look back in that study, I think 50 or 60 years, okay, to be able to find those 8 days. So what you'll do is that morning you'll get an email from me or right before the actual trade goes into effect and says, hey, do this and then do this the next day and rinse and repeat. Go hang out for the other 348 days. How long do you get your service for $9.97 for life? You get that for life. That's a good question. That's something, again, that's really only offered here right now for the people on this training. That is not something for everyone walking the street. Again, coming to this, it's an investment of just $9.97. If you want to go on my website right now, it is $5,000. You will get lifetime access. I don't want to name your name, but you will get lifetime access to this for $9.97. Question, do you have a payment plan? Yes, we do have a payment plan. The payment plan is 2 payments of $597. So you can go ahead and get started today for just 1 payment of $597, and then a month later, the other part of the payment plan. But again, if you live in the United States and you want to do the PayPal credit, pretty nice, because PayPal will give me the investment today and you don't owe anything back to PayPal for 6 months, which is really, really cool. PayPal, even more leverage. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We've had people in the past that did the PayPal deal and were able to pay pretty easily in 2 months back everything to PayPal. So they got into Market Hero. They said, you know what? I'm someone that really wants to create financial freedom. I'm really someone who wants to supplement my income. Hey, PayPal credit sounds great because I'm getting in for free today, and it's totally backed by my 30-day money back guarantee. So yeah, let's get in there. Next question, is that $9.97 per year? No, that is $9.97 per life. But again, that's pretty much because of the training we're on today, and I wanted to give you guys some extra bonuses and some extra goodies for that. How often do you meet with people that sign up? So again, for you guys, you get a bonus that no one else has ever gotten, and that is the profit screaming notifications and the one-on-one consultation. Those alone are worth the lifetime membership to Market Hero, which is just a small investment of $9.97 today. So those alone are worth that. To answer your question, how often do we meet? We meet once a week with our webinar training, and the next one that we're doing is tonight. And we also are in the Facebook group every single day answering any questions that anyone has. So those are good questions. All right, let's see. Can Steven review the sentence with ES? So I can, I do not have any of the numbers for how these work with ES. I do with the S&P futures. I don't have that, but I'm happy to go get that if one of my market heroes wants me to get that. All right. What percent of wins do you have on Tuesday weekly? I don't have those numbers in front of me. Sorry about that. But again, from 2000 to the beginning of 2018, Tuesday alone was more profitable. Okay, and obviously we know you're not going to win on every single one of our trades, but over time, clearly Tuesday outperformed the market. I don't trade options. Will your setups work without options trading? Absolutely. So I'll give you another example to the person that asked this question. We have another weekly setup that I call the trend setup. And all it is based off what the S&P 500 did the week before. We have numbers going back many, many decades that are a good indication if we should buy on the open on Monday and hold it for the rest of that week. And that is not done by options. That is done by stock. But obviously you could take advantage of that with options. But yes, you could do all of these with stock. Interest on PayPal loan. Good question. So there is no interest on the PayPal loan until after 6 months. So you get in for free and you don't have to pay anyone that $9.97 until after 6 months. Okay, so again, PayPal will pay me immediately, and then you won't have to pay PayPal back at all for 6 months. If you don't pay them back after for 6 months, then there will be a slight interest on it. But again, I've never had any market heroes, that, that had to pay interest back to PayPal. I've never had that. All right. Last question here. Can you really quick explain that 30-day money-back guarantee? So again, the 30-day money-back guarantee, which is really only available on this training, goes as follows. Try 5 of these setups. Do them correctly. And if they don't work for you, and you can show me that they didn't work for you, I will gladly give you your money back in the first 30 days. Now, I'm so confident that that's not going to happen that not only will I give you your money back in full, but I'll also give you $100 cash on top of it. That's how confident I am that Market Hero will work for you. So we have 2 minutes left. If you guys have any more questions here, pop them in the chat. If not, I will send it back to the moderators and hope to see people in the Facebook group and crush against Market Hero. And for everyone else, I hope you're able to take what we have learned here today or tonight, wherever you're watching all over the world, and you're able to go out there with confidence and be able to start making money from these setups. So doesn't look like there are any more questions. Again, Market Hero, lifetime access. And you get some of these bonuses, the profit screaming notifications and the one-on-one consultation that are not available anywhere else for the small lifetime one-time investment of just $9.97.
Steven, it looks like there's a couple more questions about how the setups come and all that. You can answer them. We got.
So we have some setups that come mobile phone. We have some that come email. We are working on a desktop browser notification as well for some of these. So yes, we absolutely, the notifications go to a lot of different places, and we're also working on settings for how to want it. We're also working on how to get them through Facebook Messenger. So there's going to be a lot of touch points. If you're someone who wants Messenger, we can give you that. If you're someone who wants email, we can give you that too. How soon can you sign up? Right now. Right now. Let's see, any more? What time of day? What exactly are you asking there for what time of day? If you don't mind me asking to the person that asked that question. Oh, for the setups, well, obviously the equity markets are open from 9:30 a.m. Eastern time to 4 p.m. Eastern time. In the morning, before the market opens, you'll get my morning game plan, which is obviously, hey, what you do during the day. And we have some that are effective at 2 p.m. So before 2 p.m. you'll get a notification, but most of them are before the day. And then obviously with the profit screening notifications, those are throughout the day. Cool? Yes, very cool. I think so too. Looks like we have everything answered here. Yes. Perfect. And again, I want to thank everyone for having me. I hope everyone got a lot of value out of this, and I hope to see some people in the Facebook group.